Professor.
Hi. What's that? Your office?
No, so I'm in Connecticut, and then I was supposed to go pick up my cousin,
Oh, you
but
were talking about it. So what happened? I mean,
yeah, but because it's like storming really bad here, like it's been raining all day, my other cousin's game got canceled, so she's waiting at school to pick up her brother, and then they're gonna come home.
so everything is sorted.
Yeah, so it's all figured out. It's been an eventful day.
I know it's always like that. You don't expect things and then just pop up.
Yeah, and then like everything happens at once in the same week. So
Especially if you have your family and friends around. I'm sure things are gonna pop up,
yeah, all the time.
right? Yeah, and I think that's the reason why expatriates like us, they feel happy living somewhere else. I don't know if it's the right thing, but that's what it is. I believe most Indians who come to say the U.S. don't want to go back and have this, we're crowded with people around. Not everybody enjoys that. Yeah, unless you're a people person, you'll find it too intense.
Yeah.
Would you not mind going and living somewhere else for a career for your?
Oh, I'd move in a heartbeat if I didn't have to deal with like all my family.
You will not go? That's what you said?
No, I would go.
Really?
Yeah. So like right now, I live in New York, and then my grandparents literally live around the block from me.
Hmm.
And then right here in Connecticut, all my cousins live here, and it's like an hour and like without traffic, it's like an hour and 15 minutes. And it's just nope. Everyone's way too close. Like if I could move to like even just like 4 hours away, like that would be like
But
perfect.
are you okay going out of the US?
Um, I could see myself living like yeah, like I mean like I'd move to like Switzerland
Wow.
or even Iceland. Like I visited Iceland
Oh my God.
last summer, and it was I mean like it was really cool. Like I could see myself living there. It's like so much calmer and like everyone's so nice and like yeah.
But you wouldn't want to go to places where you have a lot of crowd, huh?
Yeah, like
Most Asian countries.
yeah, like that's too much. Like I need something that's like I need my space.
You can still find your space even in a crowd, I believe.
Yeah.
You got to be a monk inside. Let me know if you're planning to go out and if you want me to promote your resume, let me know.
Thank you.
But I can do it only in few countries, not every country that you like.
Sounds good.
Yeah, say suppose one of you is planning to say work in the Middle East, I can try get you help. Yeah. Not necessary they'll right. It's not maybe not the perfect time, but I'm sure things will turn around and there'll be opportunities. Yeah, and when they come, you need to grab them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Dean just telling me that, we have these opportunities once in a while. When you have retirements, when you have departures, I mean, there are positions that are created, correct? I mean, they're vacant, they need to be filled. And I think that's when you need to jump and use your network. That means you must be willing to go anytime. You can't say, oh, not now. I wish I can join you next year. But maybe the position will be filled and somebody who is wanting to help you cannot. So that's what I learned from him, and actually, it helps. It helps a lot. If you see that I survived the closure of Jordan and Abu Dhabi campus, it's because I was flexible. I was willing to move. Yeah, and if you said not now, my family or whatever situation, and maybe then this opportunity will not stay for long. So I guess your mental makeup is more important than anything else. Because you're smart enough to figure your ways when you reach there, right? When you go and work in another country, you'll find out ways to adapt and adjust and really do well. It's all about your mental preparedness. So do we have everyone? I think we do. Let's start our boarding class. So
This class isn't boring.
I don't know, maybe I keep thinking you know everything. So sometimes I'm like, maybe, what am I doing? I'm like teaching them stuff which they already know.
No,
So
I feel like I learn new things. I think we all do.
hopefully,
I agree. Yeah.
yeah, because you actually listen to these stuff across several courses, you know. I guess if you work on that project, the B1 with Nicholson Ranch, I don't know if you have got a chance to talk about it, but please do. Okay, and I want you to work in those two teams that you're working with Globus on the B1 project as well. Because if you did that, maybe then you're actually applying part of what you're learning or what you already know. It keeps you interested. You're doing something beyond just the, just the assignments and the coursework. Just to keep yourself interested and you're contributing. That sense of contribution is important, right? So yeah, today we'll discuss these. I think I already spoke about them in probably the first class that we had for this course, but we can go a little bit more in detail. The five generic competitive strategies, we actually know them. It's the overall low-cost strategy, broad differentiation, focused low-cost strategy, focused differentiation, and the best cost provider strategy. Those are the five generic strategies. So you have those learning objectives. We need to know what those five generic strategies are and what kind of industries or competitive conditions they are more suitable for. And and you're also looking at how to gain a competitive advantage using low cost. You want to gain competitive advantage using differentiation, the broad approaches to strategy, and recognize the attributes of best cost provider strategy. That's the middle of the road kind strategy, stuck in the middle kind of strategy. The Lexus, the Toyota Lexus example that we keep talking about, that kind of strategy, the hybrid one. And how do we keep our competitive advantage while using any of these strategies? I think it makes more sense today, like because everything is changing so rapidly, and organizations are supposed to adapt very quickly. Understanding which strategy might fit you best in these trying circumstances is a good thing to do. You might want to reposition yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. You thought this is working for you, but given the situation that we are in right now, can we change our strategy? Can we may have a better strategy? So discussing strategies is not a bad thing at all times, because things are changing around us. Competition is changing around us. So why do strategies differ? Because we are addressing who is our market, the target market. Is it broad or narrow? Or even the market characteristics, they might be changing. Who actually comprises that target market of yours? Their income levels, their usage patterns, their lifestyles, their values that they uphold, the generational issues that you might have. So you might want to go back and ask yourself, let me define my target market and then answer the question, is it broad enough that I can have a very generic product, something that works on efficiency and cost reduction? And if your operations are great, you can serve a broad market with a simple product and a very standardized product. I think today's marketplace is going towards that. You need to have something that you can sell in large volumes, or else everything is getting commoditized. The line between a commodity and an extremely high-tech, differentiated, cutting-edge technology product, that line is getting blurred because you have intense competition, you have production locations across the globe, technology transfer is fast, and companies are changing rapidly. So ask yourself, are you still differentiated, or are you getting into that territory where you say, oh, our product is a very generic product? And then ask yourself this question: is your market still broad, or has it become narrow? Maybe the usage has changed and the consumption patterns have changed, or new technologies have emerged and they don't need as many of your products. So you have to go back and visit this particular important question of what kind of products you have, what kind of services you offer, and whether your definitions of your target market are updated and current. And are they still broad, or are you, pushed into serving narrow market segments along with certain broad segments? You might do both. It's not necessary that you have to serve only one of these target markets. You might have one product line which serves the broad market segment. You might create certain product lines or models which will actually satisfy a very narrow market segment. So these questions look simple, but which means a lot of analysis, a lot of research data, and looking at competition and looking at what you're doing yourself as a company, and before you answer that first question. Now, the second question is this: is the competitive advantage pursued linked to low cost or product differentiation? So if you're making profits, you're attracting new customers, you're retaining your old customers, and you're doing very well in across locations, across businesses, what is getting you that kind of profits or advantage? Is it because you're very efficient in the way you manufacture products? Your technology is so mature and you produce high quality at a low cost. So is it linked to low cost processes and operations that you have? Or is it because you're driven by innovation, you're invested into technology, like companies like Tesla, for example? So what actually gets you that advantageous position in the minds of customers and in comparison to competition? So both ways, you're looking at both things. So what gets me there? I think every organization has to look at itself and ask, what is our core competences, and what gets us new customers, and what keeps our existing customers happy? I want to ask you this question: what do you think are competitive advantages, and how do you link it up to low cost or differentiation if you take into consideration NYUT as a university and say School of Management in specific? Are we driven by low cost? Are we driven by product differentiation? Are we stuck in the middle, best cost provider kind of strategy? Are we, yeah, you don't have to fit in exactly, but where are we? Where are we leaning towards? Is it low cost? Is it product differentiation, or is it a mix of both?
I would say, like, wouldn't it be a mix of both? Because like NYT has like, I feel like compared to like other universities, we have like a fairly low tuition, but then we also have like something like, for example, like school management has like the triple platforms, which is like, that's something that not every school, or not like many schools have.
Right.
So I feel like it's like a fair mix of both.
Okay. I think I can agree with that, because even the accreditation team, we had 3 deans come. They were telling us that, the level of engagement that you have with students is just incredible. Only weak link again with internships and jobs and job offerings for students. I think that's where we still have to improve. But as you rightly pointed out, the triple platforms, the level of engagement and having student experiences, that's very unique and it's very special. And it's very customized, it's very individualized as well. So you get personal attention if you want to. And there are many opportunities that faculty create for students as well. So there's plenty of differentiation there. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have a better idea, Melanie, when you said we are on the lower side of tuition. But in Abu Dhabi, for example, we were on the high side. We were charging higher than all other universities. And so that used to be a disadvantage for us there. Maybe it's an advantage here in New York. So I think that also addresses a question of how your top management sees operations in various locations. What fits in the American markets and American higher ed markets doesn't have to fit in the higher ed markets in the Middle East or in China or in Canada. So you need to look at every strategic business unit, what you call in management terms as SBUs. Each is a strategic business unit. So if you were trying to treat other campuses as separate, and because they are dealing with market spaces which are very unique, your customers or your students enrolled are different, and you have a different set of conditions and environmental factors and competition out there, I think that makes sense that you have to look at every strategic business unit separately and perhaps even tailor make your strategies to fit in that particular location and serve your customers better. That never, I don't think it happened because the tuition was just driven from New York, and sometimes it's perceived as very high in comparison to what they were getting. So it can be a disadvantage in some places like Abu Dhabi. It can be an advantage in places like New York, but you can generalize it, right? So I think that's a lesson that we all have learned the hard way. I don't know if everyone who matters has learned that lesson. I did learn that lesson. So these are the five generic strategies. We'll go one after the other. The low cost, you understand. If you can do the same thing, produce the same kind of products which are comparable in quality, performance, user interface, convenience, or whatever, but at a lower cost than what your rivals can do, and you will attract a lot of customers because this is broad and the strategy is low cost. Again, I don't know, umpteen number of times we discussed Walmart, but can somebody come up with some other example other than Walmart which can fit in here? Overall low cost strategy for a very broad spectrum of buyers or a very broad market segment.
Could wholesalers be a example like BJ's or Costco?
Yeah, and are they, their pricing strategy, is it similar to Walmart or there's slightly higher?
Well, you would have to buy bulk to have it be like worth, I guess, the same amount as Walmart.
Yeah, BJ's and Costco, I would agree, but then they have something called as the membership fee, which Walmart doesn't have. So it really hits that broad spectrum. Anybody and everyone can walk in there, but in Costco's and BJ's, you got to be a member, right? So
What
yeah.
about like like the store Five Below or like Dollar Generals?
Right.
Like, they sell like, I mean, it's not like always like top quality, but it's like a broad range of products and they're usually super inexpensive.
Right. I would completely agree. Maybe they don't have the same spectrum of products available, the range of products like Walmart does, but whatever they sell, yeah, not the best of quality in all categories, but definitely they're focused on low cost. Dollar Tree and whatever other examples that Melody you were talking of, perfect examples. Then you have a broad differentiation. You might have several products which are broad differentiation. Products that are very standardized in the sense any of your market segment buyers, because it's broad. People in Brazil can buy the product, but it's still unique and special in terms of quality that it offers. And it could be the same product across Europe and across US and everywhere they sell. So are you able to differentiate your product from other rivals with certain features, quality, whatever extra, value add-ons that are there? But they are all across everywhere, whichever place they're selling, they're available. And they're not like for a rip-off price, but they're kind of affordable that everybody, stuff that you use every day, the stuff that you might use repeatedly. You go for a repeat purchase, but you want to be special because you want to pay for it. You want something that really is of value, right? You pick and choose the best. You're okay paying a little premium, a little higher price, but you get the kind of service that you want. Can anyone think of something like broad differentiation? Say, suppose you take the example of Gillette. They manufacture razors and shaving products and stuff like that. To me, they fit in there because they're all always trying to do something different. They're improving their products. They come up with unique kind of technologies, which gives consumers a better experience every time. And they're slightly higher price than the rivals that you find of the same category. They're not, I'm not comparing them with those premium brands which sell shaving products for an extremely high price. I don't know, New York Shaving Company. I think it's there in Columbus Circle, the shops at Columbus Circle. They have a very dedicated store for shaving products. Go in there, no shaving razor and kit or whatever is less than $200. That's the minimum. And you have shaving razors which are $1,500. Yeah, I'm
Wait, for $1,000 for a razor?
just for a razor, and then it's made from graphite, it's made from carbon, and it's, I don't know, it's crafted some other planet or something like that. So no, I actually saw it. You would
That's
probably
crazy.
buy it and never use it because you don't want to ruin it. So
Yeah.
so I saw products like that, products that actually heat. You have even Gillette has that. You have a razor that heats as as somebody shaves. Actually, it's heating the surface. So the plenty of Braun is not even on their list. The German company Braun, that they say you go find it in Walmart and Costco's and BJ's and Best Buys. We don't stock that kind of. They have one or two just to not dissatisfy people who are asking for Braun range of products. But Braun has its own premium line brand product line which they actually sell in that shop, and they don't name it Braun. It's manufactured by Braun, but they have I forget the name. They have a unique branding for that particular product line. So to me, Gillette falls in that broad differentiation, where it's still available across countries where they operate, and it's slightly higher than the similar kind of rivals. And apparently, the performance or the kind of consumer experience is much better. Yeah, because we always talk about Apple and stuff. I thought we'll speak something else other than Apple, Samsung, and the same things. Focus low cost. Again, I still recall. I remember I was giving you the example of Ford manufacturing a particular line of cars called Figo, which they manufacture in India and then sell in India and Africa. Uh, I recall giving you that example as a focused low cost. Ford Figo is not even available in the US because they don't manufacture it for the American markets, and they don't manufacture it in the US, nor even in other Ford locations. It's purely only strictly manufactured in India, sold in India, and then they have surplus, they sell it to Africa. Several African countries, because it's a small car, it's a budget friendly car, low cost car, and it's good for not narrow spaces where you have no parking spaces and stuff like that. Infrastructure roads are not that great, and you have plenty of traffic congestion because of the kind of populations that you're dealing with. So Ford Figo, and then the kind of performance is extraordinary. Like for a gallon of gas, you get a lot of mileage. So I don't want to speak gallons and miles because I'm only used to liters and kilometers. So I don't want to confuse you by saying something like that. But I'm trying to tell you its performance is great in terms of mileage. So focus low cost, Ford Figo, classical example. I've never seen a Ford Figo in Abu Dhabi. Uh, Across 2 years here staying in the US, I've never seen a Ford Figo go past. And so obviously that means it's a very focused low cost strategy. And they're selling good. They're competing against local brands in India, and they're selling pretty good. They're making money out of their operations there. It's a strategic business unit, separate business unit, separate strategy, working for the local customers, fighting against the local competition, and serving the needs of specific local customers, whether it's in India or African countries. They're doing great. So I gave you one example. And think about other examples. Don't speak against Samsung, Apple, and Tesla. Speak something else. Let's see if you can figure out some more examples.
Wait, I have a question. What's like the main difference between low cost provider and focused low cost?
Okay,
Is it
yeah, you've got a good question. Focus low cost is only for a narrow segment, or maybe one region or one country. It's not across several regions, or it's not broad. The focus, whenever you use the focus word, it's for a narrow segment, and that segment could be a region, a country, or maybe even a smaller, a bunch of customers having specific characteristics. So,
okay?
yeah, in this case, they're defining it as price sensitive buyers. I don't think you find a more price sensitive market than countries like China, India, Brazil, Egypt. They're extremely price sensitive. Anything low, we go for it. Price becomes the most important thing, not the luxury, not the value added features. Maybe performance comes next in terms of mileage, but not just the look and then the feel of it and the aesthetics of it. No, First is price, because they're very price sensitive market spaces. Not that Indians don't buy luxury cars, but that segment is very small, right? Majority of the buyers are price sensitive. So I would think focus low cost will fit the majority of Indian market space for Ford. It's a big one because you have more middle income group, families who want to, migrate from having a bike for the entire family where they have 5 people riding on the same bike to having a car, right? I think you should go to travel to India and see how many people can come out of a car. You will faint, actually. You'll say, what? How could this happen? So that's a classical example. Think about some example that you are familiar with. John, any example that you can think of? Focus low cost to a specific market segment or type of customers or maybe specific country or region.
I mean, I would say Costco. I don't think it's like 100% because like the management of Costco when they like started the company, they were not like what is the kind of customer I want. First, they began by what is the customer that I do not want. So they do not want the customer who goes just buys like a gallon of milk or 2 or 3 things. So by setting up the membership, they exclude those customers who will not shop like high volumes, right? Because from the perspective of the customer, if you like, I'm paying the membership, I better take advantage of it.
Right. I get your point. You're trying to eliminate and not serve the broad customers, but you want to narrow it down and you want to get them invested in being loyal to your brand because of the membership. And then you charge a slight premium when compared to Walmart, and that's kind of fine, right? That's what you're saying. That makes sense. Any other example that you think might fit in there? No more?
Change in price in the
Which
depending
one
on
is that, Sam?
yeah. Are you saying like
For focus
like
low cost.
like a different price depending on different regions or different
Right. It
countries?
could be even that, by the way. That's fine because see, Ford actually has all kinds of cars. So I spoke about one model of a car for a specific country. But if you have other models of any of these car manufacturers, they might not fit into the focused low cost. They could be broad differentiation. They could be even, the premium cars, focused, differentiation or niche marketing. So yeah, you can think about any other brand or product line which is specific to, price sensitive buyers. That could be an example.
Um, I don't really know much about this, but I did hear it from I think a life example from another class, but they said that like if you buy like if um women buy like bags, right? It's typically going to be sold a lot more in terms of a heavier price in America. But if you went to like Italy or where that, initial, like where that origination comes from,
Mhm.
it typically would be um, cheaper,
It
not in
is, of
quality, but
course.
in price.
Right. But is that deliberate or is it just because of the import taxes and the transportation and the overheads and is it becoming expensive because of all the overheads that are coming into place? Or is it a deliberate strategy to sell it cheaper in the place of origin and price it higher when it comes to another country?
I feel like both because if you price it lower in the other country, because Italy is also heavily based on tourism,
Right.
you can bring the price lower so then people are having more incentive to come by.
Okay, I agree with you because I was in Italy for like a couple of weeks and I found a lot of leather products much cheaper than anywhere else in the world. And they were actually properly made in Italy, not made in China and then sold in Italy. So I was very happy seeing something not made in China for a change. And I was happy buying some stuff there just to say, oh, I have products which are not from China for a change. And they were high quality. Trust me, when I got them, they were cheap for the kind of quality that they had. They're really good. They've lasted with me for the last 4 years. And if you saw them, you'll say, oh, no, it cannot be 4 years. Good leather ages and when it ages, it has a better feel. So that exactly happens with the stuff that comes from the place of origin. And I would agree, it could be because of both. The higher price is because of the branding, and then the kind of premium that you are willing to pay for the brand, which is not local. And some of it may be because of factors like taxes and import duties and transportation costs and stuff. That's a good example that you're talking of. Yeah.
Oh, I have a question.
Mhm.
So I know China is kind of like products made in China. They're kind of viewed as like, not poor quality, but I guess reduced quality. But over time, do you think it has like greatly improved and you think it's
Yeah, of course.
like
I
way
mean,
better than
you have both
past?
happening, I believe. Like some companies have made sure that they maintain quality even if they're manufactured out of China. And they actually are durable and they're very good. And but because of mass production, and then sometimes you might have issues with quality control. So it doesn't really matter. Sometimes you might have products made in China or made in Vietnam. My new Samsung phone is actually made in Vietnam. The latest Note 20 Ultra is manufactured in Vietnam. So I probably am thinking it's getting a little bit more expensive to manufacture stuff in China. And, maybe Samsung is selling lesser. So they want to go to a lower cost production locations, and also want to, dig deeper in terms of margins so that they have better margins because they're selling lesser. So I think both ways happen. And recently I had an experience buying, the Samsung Buds. I can just show you the product. Yeah, that's the Samsung Buds. I'll give you a weird experience. Like I order this online, I get it. Each of those, earbuds that you have a different Bluetooth protocol, and the case has a different Bluetooth protocol. So if I connect with one bud, the other bud doesn't get connected. And if I choose the left one, the right one doesn't work. If I choose the right one, the left one doesn't work. So that's a production issue. Somebody actually put the wrong software in both left and right, and it doesn't coordinate. They get me to hear only one. So I had to send it back, and it felt weird. So, manufacturing issues, quality control issues, especially if you're manufacturing in such large quantities, can happen. And if it is from China, if it happens from India or Vietnam, whichever place, you're going to have issues. So we cannot generalize whether the quality is just going down because it's done in China. It could go down anywhere where you have mass production. So it depends on the company that actually controls quality. And when you have products that really last very long, and they're all manufactured in China, so you get good quality, you get bad quality, a bad lot versus a good lot. And that's why you have companies doing big massive recalls, right? They have recalls, they make sure that you get the software updates, that these the bug fixes are there, and these issues are fixed basically in software most of the times. So quality is definitely something that you have to keep a close watch on. We go with the next one because Melanie, you were asking that question. Now, focus differentiation. Broad one, we talked about Gillette as an example. You can talk about other examples for focus differentiation, which is it's a very narrow buyer segment, but you don't want it to get too narrow that you end up not selling what you made. It's a high quality product, premium product, high tech product perhaps, or handcrafted product. But you want to sell everything that you manufacture. That means you should have enough demand for whatever limited number of items that you're manufacturing. But it's definitely for a very narrow buyer segment, and which actually satisfies very specific, unique, customized requirements of that particular niche members. And most of the times, the focus differentiation means premium price. So price is never a criteria for people who are buying those kind of products. Can anybody think of an example?
Um, I'm trying to think not cars because there's so many. Cars are too easy. Uh, but people like, for example, they're buying, I don't know, 8 8K like resolution TVs.
Right. Yeah, those can be proper examples. I think we discussed this, if I remember right. One of those classes I was speaking about an LG television panel, which was as thin as a few millimeters. You can literally stick it wherever you want. You remember that example we were talking of? And I
Yeah.
was very curious to know who is buying these expensive 8K, OLED panels, which are like huge size. They're like 80 inches. And so I was curious to know who are the ones who are buying. This is my experience from Abu Dhabi. So I was just thinking it's all the rich Emiratis and the local, customers who are buying that. And strangely, 5 out of the 10 customers were Indians. So then I realized a lot of Indians are pretty rich in Abu Dhabi, and they are. I know that, but we kind of stereotype and think, no, it must be the locals who have all the money, they have the oil and they have the businesses. But 5 out of 10 were Indians buying those massive televisions. That means they have, assets and buildings and homes which are large enough to house that particular kind of television. Who would watch an 80-inch television all the time? If you're living in, small spaces, cramped places, we don't need an 80-inch television, definitely. So, and then they're ridiculously expensive. You could probably get something for, say, 1/10 of the price, a nice projector, a 4K projector from Optoma or Sony or maybe Epson, and you could have a 120-inch projection of whatever movies and stuff you're watching, rather than watch from an expensive television from LG. Because I mentioned projectors, it's not a bad thing that you can tell me examples from, say, projectors as well. How many of you are very familiar with the brands that sell projectors, the 4K, full HD, 8K projections, including the Pico projectors? You have projectors which are very portable. You could have a projector just for your office presentations and stuff like that.
I was looking at 1080p resolution ones, but not 4K.
You have plenty. Optoma is one brand. Epson is another brand. Sony is another brand. There are many, and there are plenty of other. I think XGMI is a Chinese, manufacturer which comes up with very innovative products from projectors. So you could do a lot of examples for focus differentiation. Cars is easy, as you were saying, Sam. Maserati, Ferrari, and then those limited edition Rolls Royce. Those fall in there. I had plenty of my students come in those limited edition cars to the college, and they were happy. They were gracious enough to take me on a ride for just for the heck of the experience itself. Yeah. And then you have this middle of the stuck in the middle kind of thing, where you're trying to make a combination of best cost. That means in terms of being a very differentiated product, give as many upscale features as possible, and of course not make it ridiculously expensive, but still somewhere in the high to average kind of price, because you're putting all that technology in there and the features in there, the product attributes are there. So it's something that if you find that there is enough market space, there are enough buyers who are there willing to pay that little extra bit, but for as many features and as many value add-ons as possible, I think you need a country where a lot of affluent people are there, and higher middle income group of people are there, and where poverty is not a problem and stuff like that. Employment is not an issue. All Middle East countries, Qatar, Oman, United Arab Emirates, Saudi, all these countries, the best cost provider strategy really works. 70-80%. UAE, for example, 90% of the population is expatriates. If you went there, you will find a lot of Chinese, Indians, Pakistanis, Bangladeshis, plenty of Europeans, a lot of Americans. So you have people from everywhere, including Russian, business people. So it's a country with 90% expatriates. So the best cost provider strategy most likely will work, and the focus differentiation will work, because the 10% of locals are in another planet in terms of how rich they are. So the focus differentiation will work, best cost provider will work if your product is that kind. If it's something that actually people want to show off, show to the world that they're using this kind of products, yeah, it will sell. But if it's a product that you cannot, it's not for consumption in public places, it's just your personal consumption, it's a daily consumption, it's a repeat consumption, I think then you go for broad differentiation in these countries right? But in countries like, say, India, low-cost provider will work. Focused low-cost will work. I'm trying to say how regions are different and countries are different. The ones which I'm familiar with. Can you pick on choose countries where each of those strategies might work, or combination of those strategies might work? Generally, not with any specific product. So Sam, I'll ask you this question. You want to start a coffee shop and a chain of coffee stores. Did Sam leave?
I'm right here.
Okay. So what kind of strategy would you actually think will work for you to begin with? Or like you want customers to remember you for something? Is it broad differentiation?
I think so, because I do want to kind of like my image is just like a higher end coffee shop with like pretty good coffee, not like just Starbucks. Like
Nice.
yeah,
You know,
so
if you went to Dubai Mall in Dubai,
mhm.
you have a coffee shop from Armani.
My parents went to Dubai last year and they tried the gold coffee.
Oh,
Like
oh, cool.
yeah,
That's nice. I'm happy they did. Yeah, we have tea which has gold dust in it.
hmm
We have coffee which has gold in it. We have ice creams which have gold in it.
hmm
Pure gold. Nina, you actually heard me correct. You know, you have gold in coffee and ice cream and tea
In where?
in Dubai. Yeah, and some of that is extremely expensive. So, Sam, I'm trying to give you an idea. If you set up a shop, a coffee store, it's not a bad thing that you might want to open the elite, you know, store in places like Abu Dhabi and Dubai. But it means that you need to make everyone aware of it, and then the experience is completely in a different plane. And if you go to the Armani coffee shop that I was speaking about in Dubai Mall, it's the visibility. People want to be noticed having coffee. It's not just about the coffee and the taste and then whatever quality of service, it's the visibility. Everybody wants to be noticed. Here is a place which not everybody can afford. And here are we having, you know, coffee and sitting there and having the best of coffees. So it's a different ball game. Then you are moving towards not just broad differentiation, but if you take it to the next level, it's focused differentiation, including in coffee and tea and ice creams and stuff like that. So we don't have to always focus on cars and those expensive products. Coffee can be expensive. I know of one place, TWG. Have you heard of that brand?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I can type that on the chat. It's called I'm sorry. It's called TWG. It's Twining. Check out their stores in Dubai Mall and in Mall of Emirates. They have coffees which are like, tea. They sell tea, not coffee, but they sell teas that are as expensive as $300.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, three people can have tea. They give you a large portion, but for $300, that's like still ridiculously expensive, right? Who wants to? Yeah. So they'll get you the boxes and little sample boxes for you to smell and figure out which tea you would be interested in. You can pick. They have 600 flavors of tea. 600. So there is no
Wow.
way that you will be able to go decide what tea you want without asking for help. So when you ask for help, they'll tell you the detail, they'll tell you the ingredients, they'll give you little small sample, pieces, which you can take home, of course, which you can smell and say, this tea smells good, it must be really good, and whatever you're saying, it has those health benefits and stuff like that, and it's from exquisite stuff that has been acquired from exotic locations and stuff like this. It's like as if it's something involving artistry. It's not process, it's not mass consumption or mass production. It's purely as if tea making is an art. So you can take it to that level, Sam, and trust me, there is a lot of money there. And when you have a chance again, I'll be happy to talk to you, give you great ideas.
Great. Thank you.
It'll keep your next 2 generations rich, trust me. Okay. Yeah. So this is how it is organized. We're talking of overall low cost provider strategy. That's low cost, but it's for a broad segment. And then we have differentiation. If it's for broad segment of markets or all countries, then it's called broad differentiation. But these two, low cost and differentiation, when you go to a narrow market segment, it becomes focused low cost and focused differentiation, right? That's what I was trying to explain. And if you're trying to make the best of both in terms of low cost versus differentiation, this is the middle of the road or stuck in the middle or best cost provider strategy. And the Lexus example that we keep talking, it's there in your slides as well, but we might find other examples as we progress. Okay, low cost provider strategies, when do you have a chance that you can succeed? Tell me when it's kind of time, because at this class I can break it into 2. I don't want to bore you guys, just keep you interested till you're interested. If I have you engaged and if I can give you ideas so that you can take it forward and implement it in your own business or startups, I think that should be the purpose of a capstone course, not to get you a job. You're already there. You have the skills. You have your, your bachelor's degree. You have your certifications. My course is not going to get you a job. My course should let you think like an entrepreneur and think, here are good things that I should keep in mind. Eventually, when I decide to have my own business, let me not forget these things. That's how it should be. Anyway, low cost provider strategies, when is it useful? Only when you can pursue cost savings that are difficult for others to do the same thing. I mean, you don't want to go compete with, say, Walmart or BJ's or Costco on low cost or cost savings, because they deal in huge volumes. And that's why you find smaller companies like Dollar Tree and all these companies which are smaller, but again, trying to get there as quickly as they can. They're trying to grow into sizes like Walmart or BJ's or Costco's. So you need to make sure that you're connected, your supplies are there, you're procuring from the low cost, but at the same time, that's the second point is important. You cannot reduce product quality to unacceptable levels. You don't want people not to walk into your place, right? Imagine you push the cost so low and the quality is struggling. It is very bad. People will stop showing up. So that's a risk that you might have. Anyway, there are other risks that you can have is greater profits, increased market share, gain from underpricing the competition. So it might be taking away your profits. It might be you might get profits, you might get increased market share, but then you're actually taking it too far. Eventually, you might stop getting profits, even if your market share is increasing. So it's just not sustainable sometimes. Larger profit margins when selling products at prices comparable to and competing with rivals, that could be an advantage for you. You could get bigger margins because you're selling in volumes. When you sell in huge volumes, you might make small margins on each product you're selling or each unit you're selling, but you're making an overall profit because you sell in large volumes. Low pricing does not attract enough new buyers. How many times would you go to a store like Dollar Tree? I mean, I would go once in a while, but definitely not all the time. So you don't want that to happen. You want new customers to come and you want to retain your old customers. So sometimes going too low on price, just discourages new customers from coming in, and it might even discourage your existing customers to come back. Rivals retaliatory price cutting, that can easily happen. When I reduce my price of my product in the market space, my competitors can pretty much do the same. And if they are in a better financial position, if they have access to better resources or maybe better suppliers, or if they have better technologies in their manufacturing, if they can cut costs further, they would price it lower than my product pricing. And then I'm done. Because why would customers come to me if they're getting a comparable or better quality for even further lower price? So retaliatory pricing can easily happen, and you're losing that advantage, and it might become a big risk in the future for you. So whatever strategy you take up, and that's why, Sam, for example, your coffee shop, did you see me? I've never advised you to go for a low cost strategy, because somebody else can do it and then you're lost in the crowd. Who are you? I mean, you're just like any other coffee shop which is trying to sell at the lowest price possible. So broad differentiation to begin with, maybe because your resources are limited. Once you're cash, rich, your liquidity is not an issue. You've developed that kind of network with suppliers and stuff. Your understanding of the market spaces and regions and customer preferences that's become, deeper. You can then migrate having few of your stores, broad differentiation. They're like your cash cows. And then you can have another line of coffee shops, which are very focused differentiation. That's like for building on reputation and making, more money from less customers, perhaps. So you're giving very, very specialized service for a very small number of customers, and they will come back to you, and they're happy paying whatever you're charging them. So I would tell you that you stick there, broad differentiation and focus differentiation. Once you get into the low cost war, you'll fizzle away. After 10, 15, 20 years, you might make money, but then slowly these brands will go away, and somebody else will do what you're doing. It's easy for them to imitate, and they might do it better. They might even go lower prices. And suddenly, you will struggle. You'll say, oh man, I'm giving good quality, but somebody has just come and taken away all my market share. It can easily happen that way. So you've got to be very careful when you plan out stuff. I'm glad, at least, by the way, if you guys actually come up with your future kind of business idea where you're passionate about, it should be something that you're passionate. When I hear Samantha speaking about coffee shop, it's not that coffee is a high-tech product, but it just goes to show that she knows that coffee and having coffee is like businesses are dealt across coffee, friendships are forged having coffee, and your relaxation can happen over coffee. And while having coffee, you might read and have a great innovative creative ideas. So she takes coffee to being the central thing in life. She has that kind of passion to believe that coffee is an altogether wonderful experience, right? So unless you believe that, you can't. And so that's what I appreciate, Sam, when you said that. You're not speaking about creating an application, mobile application, or having a startup on solar energy or renewable energies, or a fintech or Bitcoin or something like that. You're speaking about something that will live forever. As long as humanity stays, coffee will be in demand. Would you agree? I was just asking my dean. I have a meeting today. It is the first meeting that I'm attending because of you. He put me in several committees. So that was the first meeting. I had no clue what the meeting is about, what the agenda is going to be, what is expected of me. So I text him. So I have a meeting in like 30 minutes. Is there something that I should speak? I should be prepared. You know what he said? Just go bring caffeine. That's the only requirement for the meeting. I'm like, wow. So Sam, you're already in business. Imagine we have meetings. I have nothing to do. Just go order from your shop. And I'm prepared for the meeting. Certain meetings are like that. Okay. So coffee is required for all kinds of things, for boring things, for creative things, for inventive things, for everything, literally. Go ahead and make your dreams come true, Low cost advantage affirms cumulative costs for its overall value chain. See, by the way, when you say low cost, how do you get to low cost? Look at your value chain. Again, I'll refer back to you, Sam. You need to figure out who is your supply chain. So you need to find out where do you procure the best coffee beans. How do you deal with them, and how do you forge a strong relationship and bond with them? How do you ensure a fair price for them? How do you get them to feel as if they are your partners, not just your suppliers, so that they actually, earmark the best coffee beans for you? This is Sam, and her company really takes good care of us. They give us the kind of support that we require as coffee growers. Now we grow coffee, but she really takes care, and she comes back and gives back to our community. And so you forged just not being suppliers, but the way you treat them, you say, wow, right? And that kind of supply chain, you want to make sure that it's efficient and lower your cost. You're still giving high quality, but as much as you lower the cost, that much is your profit margins, right? So value chain is something that every company focuses in trying to achieve that low cost advantage. And every part of the value chain, maybe it's part of your manufacturing, it's part of training your customers, reducing the wastage, or avoiding duplication of work, better coordination, cutting down on, administrative expenses, plenty of things in the value chain itself. Apart from, how do you reach out to other outlets? Do you sell your coffee products, the coffee itself? Do you sell it in other outlets? Do you have channel partners? So you can look at every possible. You don't want one revenue stream, Sam, not just in your store. Even when your stores are closed, I'm going to a place where I find your brand of coffee, and I'm like, oh, I don't have to always go to the store if I don't have time. And if I have to be locked down in quarantine, I can still have our coffee here. So I buy your coffee, right? And I've seen, what is that brand? I can actually type that here. If I remember that correctly, again, this is from my experience in Abu Dhabi, but I came here and I saw Argo tea, and it's close to Columbus Circle. Actually, you can just walk. I went and along with my wife, and we had Argo tea there. It just made us feel that we came back to Abu Dhabi. You got me? And then they sell a lot of accessories which are for making tea, the dispensers, and then the diffusers, and a lot of nice stuff, glass, porcelain, and all colors, coffee mugs or tea mugs, plenty of good things. So they're not just making tea and selling all kinds of tea, the bubble tea and all that stuff, but they also are selling other extra stuff that you might want to buy and use it at home. And because we're speaking coffee and tea, I'm happy, this class is going on coffee and tea. Otherwise, it gets boring talking only of mobile phones and cars. There's another brand called T2. Have you seen that? I literally purchased a coffee diffuser, which costed me like $60, but it works like magic. You have a nice, beautiful diffuser inside, and you put whatever. You put cinnamon, you put whatever tea bags and stuff like that, and you put hot water and keep it there. I have tea for me and my wife ready. So, and the teas were very good as well. You had orange tea, you had all kinds of flavors, fruit flavors, flower, chamomile tea and stuff like that. We are big into tea, not as much into coffee, Sam. So probably you missed out on one customer for sure. Try to get me involved with more of coffee. We're much into tea because I somehow think tea is healthy and it's not like getting you addicted to something. So we keep changing the flavors, and probably tea with ginger, tea with lemon, tea with all these kind of herbal things is super healthy, right? Melanie's listening now. She wasn't that curious when we
Yeah,
said
but I mean,
coffee.
like, I'm more of a coffee person, so
Oh my God, that's not healthy always, Melanie. So you got to
I
migrate
know, but
into.
it's so good.
I know. That's why I'm saying, Sam, you make money there. See, I never recommended tea. I'm recommending, Sam. See, I want my students to get rich, right? I can go one day and say, see, look at my students. They took my class and they became this. Well, it's not true. Huh? It's because of all of you. That's what it is. How to gain a low cost advantage, do a better job than rivals at the value chain activities. Some of the value chain activities you might be doing and it's no value addition. You've been doing it and you realize why, for what? Just get rid of those. There is redundancy. There may be people doing it for just because it was done in initial stages. Revisit your value chain activities and look at all the activities which are escalating the cost. It could be supplies, it could be certain activities. What are actually contributing to extra cost? Can you combine some of those activities? Can you eliminate some of those activities? Can you automate some of those activities? Can you bring in technology? So like, again, with the coffee shop that we're talking, who will do the accounting? Who will do the procurement? How is it going to be done? Is it individuals who will do it and then there is a mess? Because you're operating in more than one location, you're actually contacting several suppliers. So is it a system which will be there and a proper trained person? So instead of having three people, you have one individual and a very robust software which can help you. ERP kind of software, which does accounting, which does procurement, and all other activities behind the coffee making itself, right? So you might want to look at all your value chain activities and ensure that you cut costs. Don't just cut people, cut costs. Most companies during the pandemic cut costs, just furlough people and retrench people. It's very sad. You should find a better use of them, reorganize work, and see how you can use them to get you more business, correct? And if that doesn't work, I would agree, okay, you have no other way, and then you have too many people, and you can't find an alternative work, or even the reorganizing is not helping, then I understand. You could, and sadly, if you have noticed, the top management, they don't take a pay cut. They actually furlough employees to keep their high salaries. Have you seen this? The top management never takes a pay cut. Even pandemic, no pandemic, low revenues, low sales, no customers, they never take a pay cut. But they're just getting rid of, the sales guys, the workers, and the lower end people. I mean, it's disgusting because these people are so selfish. So what I would want to tell you guys, just make sure that you understand the value chain. Don't just go attack. Oh, let me get rid of my employees. I want to cut costs. No, first try the value chain. Look at what's happening. Reorganize work. Get them to do something that gets you more business. If that doesn't work, as a last measure, that's how you respect people, right? And once you respect your own employees, they know how to treat your customers. And customer service doesn't come to people who are demotivated and disgruntled and unhappy. If your employees are extremely happy, they're motivated, they're happy, they're satisfied, they'll treat your employees really well. That's a key. Most people, forget that. Revamp the firm's overall value chain to eliminate or bypass cost reducing activities. That's another thing that I was mentioning just now. And cost drivers, find out what are the cost drivers. Activity-based costing. Look at every activity and say, what is the cost involved? Everything has to be measured in terms of cost. And look at what are driving the cost up, and look at all the things that you can bring to pull the cost down. Use lower cost inputs and hold minimal assets. Lower cost inputs should not be at the sacrifice of quality. Okay, so lower cost inputs could be if you have more than one supplier, see what best bargains you can have. Don't have too much of inventory. Hold minimal assets so that you're not crunched for liquidity. Offer only essential product features or services. Yeah, it might not work everywhere, but in certain markets where the economy is hurting, customers are not willing to spend as much, I think just cut down the extras and give essential product features. But in certain markets and regions where you're serving an elite group of customers, a very niche market, I think you cannot cut on any of those value add-on features. You might want to keep them going. I'll give you an example. Like, last month, one of my students flew to India using Emirates Airlines. He had a car come and pick him up for economy services. How? Where airline industry is hurting and the number of passengers and tourists traveling is decreasing, why is Emirates actually sending a car to his home to pick him up when he's actually an economy traveler? Because they want to say, even during the crisis, we want to be nice to you. So you have to be careful. Don't take those words which are there on the slide as per se and start using it. You have to be sure where you want to use whatever is being discussed. Does it fit into your customers? Does it fit your current situation? Does it fit the region that you're serving? So, and does it fit your reputation and brand image? So all those are questions. Anything that I'm speaking in this class, don't take it straight away and say, this is applicable. No, you have to understand the context. You have to understand your situation, and then ask yourself, does this make sense? And do you have data to support your decision? If yes, then you're making a very informed decision. Offer only limited product lines. Sometimes this might work, especially if you're driving the cost down. Instead of, I think they should have done this in Abu Dhabi campus, trust me. They opened up their computer network and cybersecurity program. They opened the mechanical engineering bachelor's program. They opened instructional technology program. I mean, when you open so many programs, you're creating higher costs, more faculty, labs, capital expenditure. And how do you want to recover the cost and make it profitable and self-sustain in a short period of time? It's not going to work. So sometimes cutting down on the number of programs focusing on few programs might help lowering the cost itself. So yeah, sometimes it might work. Use low cost distribution channels. See, instead of setting up your own distribution networks, you use someone else's distribution network to lower your cost, distribution cost. So ask yourself this question every now and then as your company grows in size and in operations. What am I doing? Am I trying to establish my own distribution channels, which can get expensive? Or will I just leverage existing distribution channels? So bargain, negotiate, get good deals with your distribution networks for the lowest cost possible, and try and push the cost down. Use the most economical delivery methods. Again, we spoke several times about Amazon. If I place 2 orders, why do I get it in 2 boxes when the 2 orders are very small, right? If Amazon knew how to actually coordinate better, I'm not saying it's possible in all occasions, all contexts, but if it's actually getting shipped from the same buyer or the same region or the same city, why not? And if I place the order one after the other, I didn't bundle them, I just forgot to bundle them as a customer, you can have an option and send it to me and say, these are two little small products, it's coming from the same city or the same seller. Can we bundle them together and send it across in one box? So you're cutting down on the packaging cost or the delivery methods, right? And you're also saving on, say, the carbon footprint and the greenhouse effects, and you're being socially responsible as well. So you can actually think about that. Refills. In the US, I've seen refills like crazy. In Abu Dhabi, you don't see refills. Popcorn, refill. Coke, refill, right? I go to Disney and Universal, you can refill that I don't know how many times. No wonder people are having so much Coke and Pepsi because of the refills. They know how to get you addicted. But in Abu Dhabi, no refill. So there's no incentive to drink more and eat junk. So yeah, so obviously the delivery methods and how you can get more people, lower the cost, because you have cut down on cost of, say, the container, the packaging. So I think refills is a great thing to do. I think you have refills for medicine in the US, right? Which is wonderful. I'm really appreciate a lot of things which we don't have in other countries. This is what I learned, and I'm like, wow, this is so good. I wish other countries had it, and other companies in other countries start thinking this way. Sam, you were about to say something.
Oh, nah, nothing. It's okay.
Okay, so any questions or anything that you might want to add to our discussion? I'll stop here, and we can continue next class. So